This is the Domain Magnate Show, where you'll learn everything you need to know about buying, optimizing, and selling online businesses with your host, Michael Beroslavsky.
Hello, dear listeners. Today we have Jaryd Krause. Hi, Jaryd. How are you doing?
Good, Michael. Thank you for having me on. How are you?
I'm good. So, Jaryd, what do you tell people when they ask you what you do for a living? How do you explain it?
It's always an interesting question. I used to play around with this a little bit because I got sick of telling people the whole story. I used to tell people that I was a plumber and I tried to make money online and I failed and I sucked at it for so long. And then I bought a business and then bought another one and learnt this craft of buying sites. And then I started to teach people. Now I just tell people that I teach people how to buy website businesses.
That's a good one. So that's a short kind of one line. I teach people how to buy businesses.
Yeah. And then it sort of gives people the opportunity to ask deeper if they want. And then there's some people that it's just a common, it's like a generic question. It's like an auto response of like, hey, how are you? What do you do for work? So a lot of people actually don't really care what I do for work when they really ask, but there's some that do dig deeper. I spoke to a guy. It's funny, this morning I went out and put the bins out for the rubbish man, and that down the end of my street there's a job site. It's quite a massive two building high rise, and I used to work on high rises as a plumber. And as I took the bins out, one of my old work colleagues walked past my front house, and he's like, my last name's Krause, and they all call me Krause. He's like, Krause? I was like, oh, Simon, hey mate, how you doing? And he's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, are you still a plumber? And I told him no. And then I told him what I did, and he ate it up. He really got into it. So there's some people that are interested in it. There's some people that aren't.
Yeah, that's interesting because I have to deal with that question all the time as well. Mostly it's other entrepreneurs or people that are somehow involved with entrepreneurship. So I found that I generally vary my answer based on who is asking.
What's your regular?
The regular. Well, I would usually tell people that I run a private equity firm and we buy online businesses. But that invites a lot of questions. Oh, like what kind of businesses do you buy? How big it is? Because people think maybe it's $1 billion firm, like maybe this guy's a billionaire, or maybe he's just, a fake and just, build a website just last Monday. So then sometimes I just don't want all those questions. So I would say something like, I do affiliate sites or, something common, or like SEO.
Yeah.
But generally the simple way is just, I would say that I buy businesses.
Yeah. And
pretty much always it invites some more questions. So I still haven't figured out how to explain that like in 1 or 2 lines without everyone just asking a ton of questions after that.
Yeah.
That's a challenge.
It is a challenge because we're in a space that's so new where I feel that most people want to make money online, right? Everybody wants to live the dream of making money online and traveling the world, and everyone's so curious about it. So it's hard for them to not ask questions, I feel.
Yeah. Yesterday I met someone who is, who told me, he asked me what I do, and I told him, well, I buy businesses. And he said, oh, I did affiliate marketing 10 years ago and I made about 1,000 euros. And we were discussing that a little bit. So he kind of asked like how that works and everything. But it is something that you should probably have prepared what to say people in different situations.
Yeah, I agree.
The difficult one is then you have like a mother of your friend asking, and then how do you explain it? Or even a grandmother.
Yeah, I agree. You've got to have that arsenal in your bag.
Yeah. So I know you shared your story before and you were a plumber, but just to give us a brief overview for our listeners. How did you buy your first business? How did you get into it?
Yeah, sure. So I started, I was basically running away from, I didn't like my life. Basically, I started drinking heavily, and I decided, all right, enough. Like, I hate my job. I hate what I'm doing with my life. And I pretty much ran away and just started traveling the world. And I realized I needed to do something different. And I just had some stupid goals, like I want to travel the world and make money online and just like live this dream life. And I decided that, all right, I'm actually going to commit to this. So I started a travel blog, and I started travel blogging, and everyone said it'd be really hard to make a lot of money or any money at all. And they were right. And I tried to challenge them. I was like, no, I can do this. And I made a little bit of money, but it definitely wasn't going to sustain my goal, my dream life. So I started another website business. It's a drop shipping business. And I just thought I'd build it and sales would come through the door. It didn't happen. I sucked, right? To be honest, I learned a lot through that process, and I realized that why am I starting these websites when I know that 90% of all businesses fail? 90% of all startups fail, sorry. So I thought, well, I'm going to skip that startup failure rate and just buy one that's past that 90%. Yeah. So I taught myself, much like you did, is I taught myself how to buy websites on Flipper, and I bought one and I made some money, and then I bought another one. And by the time I had 2 websites, I was making more from my website than from my plumbing job. So I decided to quit. And I went traveling, and then I bought another site.
How long ago was that?
Yeah, I bought my first website in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from the time that you bought your first website, how long did it take you to get to a point that you felt secure enough that you could quit your job?
I don't feel that I ever felt super secure, but I did it quite quick. Within 8 months, I bought my second business. And within 12 months, I had quit my job, and I had my two websites, and I was traveling.
Okay, and these were all cash purchases? You didn't have any loans, mortgages?
Yeah, okay. So cash. I started saving my money from quite a young age, and I decided to put it in the share market. And it wasn't really working in the share market, and so I needed to put it somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay, nice. And then, so then you had these 2 businesses, and you had people asking you how you did that, wanting to help them.
Yeah. So I quit work, and I got invited to pretty much where you are over in Thailand, but in Bangkok, I got invited to a retreat, and a lot of people there were asking me questions and really trying to learn a lot from me, all the attendees. And they were like, dude, you should jump up on stage and start teaching here. And I was like, that's not for me. That's not I don't know about that. And then a lot of people sort of pushed me in to start teaching them because they really wanted to know. And that's how that sort of spawned. Like, I bought another business in that year, and then a lot of people just started reaching out and wanting to learn how it was all done so they could do it as well.
Yeah, nice. That's usually how, good businesses are built, just out of necessity, kind of having people coming to you and asking.
Yeah.
And, how does it work now? So for listeners who want to work with you, what budget should they have to buy a business? How do they engage with you? How do you structure your services?
Yeah. So normally somebody will find me from my podcast or my YouTube channel, some crazy content that I put out, and then they will make a decision based off that, whether they trust me or not. And then they will come to me and want to join my community. And in my community, I have a course, and we have a pretty rich community of people that are doing 5, 6, and 7 figures, buying sites, selling sites, scaling sites in that community. And I teach them how to do the due diligence process to buy the business, and then also how to grow the business as well. And normally people that want to work with me I urge them to be spending more than the $10,000 price range for a website. And the reason I say this is because anything under that price range is you're kind of buying a startup, and you're still in that bracket of a 90% failure rate, and you need to put a lot more time, effort, and energy and money into it for it to hopefully pass that 90% failure rate, for it to hopefully give you some sort of return on your investment. So I urge people to, spend a little bit more money than, or roughly more than 10,000 on their first business if they can, and then as you buy bigger, it gets a lot easier. The risk sort of diminishes as you go higher, depending on the business as well and your skill set.
What is like the average of the general amount that people come to you with that they want to spend to buy a business, to buy their third business?
Yeah, so it used to be roughly between the 30K range. Now it's around in between the 50 to 250. I mean, we're looking at deals up to the 800K range now as well with different clients. So it's quite the bracket is spread quite a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we recently launched a service, a buy and manage service, where we buy business for a client and manage it for them. Yeah, our minimum is pretty similar, so it's around 50, 60,000 as a minimum, because really then you go below that, the cost of management, the resources, it just doesn't make as much sense financially.
Yeah,
I think, and certainly like the 10,000 or like 15,000, we do sometimes buy the smaller ones, but it's a completely different thing out there. Like it's still like completely Wild West. Then you go with these ranges versus buying like at least 50,000. I think that gets you more or less a reasonably stable business that is more automated.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, the bigger the business is, the more levers you can pull in direction of the business and how you want to grow it. And with a 10K or 20K business, you don't just have you need to put a lot more cash into it to get it to a level where you can pull the levers a lot easier and work out what's working, what's not working, and where should I spend my time. You don't have much resources when you have a 10 to 20K business, but as you get a bit bigger, you can deploy those resources in different areas. So I could definitely see that as you guys have launched that service, which is awesome, by the way, it's just not worthwhile to any of the parties to take in anything less than 50,000.
Yeah, absolutely. For our fund as well, they mostly target businesses like around 100,000 or bigger. And when we buy smaller businesses, it's a different kind of thing. So we would just be looking at a completely different strategy, maybe like a quick flip, versus kind of looking at it more long term. But so we only focus on content businesses, and sometimes buy SaaS businesses that have a strong content component. I imagine that you and your clients are generally more, less kind of focused. What kind of businesses do you usually buy for clients?
Yeah, so I have a thing that I teach my clients is to have two goals. First, you need your lifestyle goals, and then you need financial goals. So there's no point in having in my opinion, there's no point in having a whole lot of finances if you don't have a really good life. Yeah. So I think the lifestyle goals are really important to work out how much time do you want to spend on the business, how does you want that business to improve your life as well. And then you can work out the financial goals. So if somebody wants to be making, $1,000 a month, they kind of need to spend 36K on a business. And then, how much hours do they want to work on it? So we work out what is the best business model suited to their lifestyle goals and their financial goals. So roughly I've got clients that have bought dropship sites, content sites as well, looking at SaaS businesses too, FBA businesses. We've got people in the community that own FBA businesses and looking to buy more of them. So it's quite diverse. It's not just content. I do like content because it's a good business model for people that are beginners, because they don't need such a heavy reliance on marketing which is a skill that they may not have when they first come to the space. I mean, buying a drop shipping site when you don't know anything about marketing, it can be a tough business to grow and scale.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many deals would you say you've done since you've started doing this for clients?
That's a good question. I think I've recorded like 6 case studies. I think we've done 7 deals, and we're coming up to, I've got like another person that's buying one this week, put an offer down, and then we've got another person that's putting offers in between 2 businesses as well. So since offering that service, which I started offering in March, that's the amount that we've been
that's pretty good. It's that's like one deal per month on average. So
it's tracking nicely, and it's good. The biggest thing is not how much deals can we make happen, but how much of an impact can we make for those people in their lives. Because I don't want to make people super duper wealthy and only have wealth, but I want to make sure they have a big impact and actually change their life. That's the real metric that we should be following, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And where do you usually find those deals? Where do you go to brokers, to marketplaces, or do you use some personal connections to some outreach?
Yeah, so obviously I do have a lot of personal connections now, being in this space for quite a while, people that want me to sell their sites, and then also people that want me to buy their sites. So we do post some of those. Now we also mainly are going to the brokers, so like Empire Flippers and FE International. We've looked at some of the other brokers as well, but so for the businesses that are being bought over the 20 to 30K range, we're using brokers. For the ones that are 15 to 40K are usually cross between brokers and marketplaces. So we've bought from Exchange Marketplace and things like that, and then we've also bought from FE and so FE International and EF. I always get them mixed up because there's always an F and an E there as well. Yeah. So between those guys, and they help us out a lot, and they're good brokers. They're good to deal with.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think it's they really make it convenient, especially for first-time buyers, to just like handle everything for them, and buy flippers, do the transfers, and
exactly. Because they notice a lot of my clients are first-time buyers, but they've also got that education, so they know what questions to ask. They know the process, so they actually like dealing with our guys because they know how we work and we know how they work, so we can educate each other on how our different processes work. But I want to ask you, what about you? Like, do you have a particular type of brokers you go to or suggest people go to as first timers?
We do not really work with brokers.
Okay.
All our deals come privately, so all our deals come from people that come to us that want to sell quickly, and we have a deal flow department, and what we do is just look for deals, do calls, do due diligence. We also do some outreach. I would say that most of the deals that we've done in the past have been private from people coming to us. We haven't bought anything from Empire Flippers or FE International yet, but we have looked. So we've certainly looked, but because our criteria is very strict in terms of what we are looking for, in terms of the deal, in terms of the numbers and opportunities and growth. So our goal is usually to try to get a 100% return in a year, like in less than a year. So we found that it's really difficult to do if you buy a deal from like you can find good deals with brokers, but it's really difficult because you have so many buyers and a limited number of deals. So what we found is we've developed some advantages in the marketplace, and we have those connections, and we are able to go and tell people, hey, if you go to Empire Flippers, it would take 5 months to sell a business. But if you go to us, we can do that in a few days. We can do that in a week, and we can, we have the cash, so we can go and buy the business quickly. And that could be like a 6-figure deal as well. And so that really helps us go and get better deals. And for us, it's really important because half of what we do is just really finding better deals. So we look at hundreds of different deals and try to find the very best ones.
Yeah.
But that said, I think that for most people, for most buyers, they are looking for something a bit different. So that strategy probably wouldn't work for them because they are looking for the long term. They are looking for something that's stable, that's safe, like that lifestyle. And for us, we are just looking for profits.
Yeah.
So I think
it's a different type of buyer.
Yeah, the strategy would be certainly different.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's when you buy them with your own deal flow, you can pay a lower multiple because you don't have brokerage fees and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can also really see, if you can determine if it's going to be a strategic fit for the portfolio that you already have. Most of the buyers or people that want to work with me is at their very first time, and they're like, I just want to sort of dip my toe in the water and buy something that's stable, and they can learn a lot from that business. And then that can be like a foundational investment in their education, and then they can choose which way they want to grow, whether they want to go bigger with bigger sites or stay at the same level and buy things that they could really deploy a lot of their time and energy into get a higher growth. So it's really dependent on what their goals are as well. A lot of my guys, they don't want to be spending a lot of time in building their businesses. Like I'm talking, They don't want to spend 20 to 30 or more hours per week. Whereas you have a team, you've got different people working for you that can do that sort of stuff. So
it's you certainly shouldn't go and buy high risk websites with a lot of VPNs and backlinks, unless you have a solid SEO team already and some SEO experts on your team that can just look into it and decide a strategy and move forward with it. So that's absolutely true. And so you explained how this works and what kind of people you usually work with and what budgets we should have. And how does your service work in terms of costs? Do people pay you hourly, or is it a one-time fee, or is it like a success fee like a broker?
Yeah, so how they come along is I have a membership. Okay, so it's like a community and they pay per month. So it's $100 a month. Join for however long you want, cancel whenever you want. And then we've got an annual, it's $800 for 12 months. And in the group, I teach you how to buy the business. So a specific course, which is like 20 lessons, diving real deep into how to do it precisely and correctly without, I think last time we talked about emotional intelligence and buying based on emotions, not to do that. And then how to do it very strategically, right? How to be quite analytical and buy a business that's safe and a good investment for you personally. And then also, we do strategies once they've bought the business on how to grow it as well. So I sit down with them and say, all right, this is what you'd want to do in order, and this is why, and this is how long it will take, or you need a team for this, or it depends on the business. So it's focused on basically buying your first business and building it. And then also the connection, like the network is a big piece, because your network is your net worth, right? So we've got people in there that can help one another with their businesses too. So
yeah, it's pretty good. So they pay a monthly fee and they get access to all the materials, and they can ask you questions and network with other people who are also in that group. And maybe they can also communicate and buy deals together or figure something out, some cooperation. join?
Yeah, exactly. So there's that leverage of a community that you can buy together, or you could sell one of your business to somebody in the community. That could be a beneficial thing for them. Like we got people with the same. Just the other week, we had somebody that come on. He loves sports fishing, saltwater fishing, and then another guy who joined a lot earlier. He's into the same sort of niche. So the possibilities are really cool. I think the power that the most valuable thing that they get or they join for is the level of support, like where people I teach them how to do their due diligence, but I also review it for them. So I share with them like what red flags there may be. And the goal is to really educate them to do it themselves. Like I don't want to give a man a fish. I want to teach him to fish so he can buy and build a portfolio themselves. So for the entry price to become a part of the community is so low, but for what they can get in the long term, if they stick to it, is the value just goes up. So it's up to them, you know. It's good for some people and it's not right for some people, and that's totally cool.
And in terms of due diligence, how do you teach people to start doing due diligence on their own? Or, you know, what are some things that they should focus on? Should we just have a long checklist, or how does it work?
It's a big process, as you know. But when they first come, we talk about how to check out the owner, do verifying checks on the owner, check out the domain name, page ranking, domain rank, all that sort of stuff. And then we slot it into different areas. So we have like check out the traffic, verify the traffic, the financials, check out the SEO. And then you have specific seller questions you need to ask as well. Talk about negotiations and submitting an offer. We also talk about how to be an attractive buyer, because like you said before, you have a lot of people that want to buy these businesses, especially around the 20 to 50K range. So we teach you how to be an attractive buyer to ensure that you know, if there's 5 people looking at the deal, that you can be the person with the cash that they actually want to sell the business to. And that's an important thing, because a lot of sellers don't want to sell a business they've worked really hard on to somebody who's incompetent. They don't want to see that their baby be given up to somebody where it's not going to be put into good hands. So that's a really important thing.
Yeah, one thing that we've noticed is that in that range, specifically like from 10 to 50,000, because there are so many buyers, like everyone has that kind of budget to go with. And
yeah, that's right.
A lot of people just like start contact, start discussing, start negotiating, and then just disappear, or even make a deal and then disappear. And that really makes the buyers kind of feel more concerned about it. So they realize that, okay, even if they make a deal, that's not sure. And that's where we also have an advantage, that we are able to just tell people, okay, if you make a deal, like you make this deal with Domain Magnate, and we will always follow through. And sometimes that also helps us secure a deal, even if we pay a little bit lower, you know, even if there are many other buyers. So I'm curious, how do how can first-time buyers project that sense of authority, that like showing the seller that if they make a deal, they're going to go through, they have the cash, it will be a smooth deal. How can they do that?
Yeah, so that's all in the education, is teaching people how to know their due diligence and do it really, really well, and do it multiple times to become confident of the process. Because the first time, like we've talked about this before, the first time you get on the phone with a seller, it can be overwhelming or daunting. So I teach them to speak to the brokers and talk about business. And the best way to learn about business is to be in business. So the discussions that happen within the community are all about learning and teaching each other how to do due diligence and be confident in it, and be confident in the businesses that we're buying. And the more businesses that they look at and they break down, they do due diligence on, the more confident they get, right? And the cool thing, the byproduct that I love, is that when you look at multiple businesses, you learn so much from them that all those things, you can take notes and strategies on the things that they do to those different businesses you've looked at, the things that they've done to grow them. And you can keep that in a big swipe file. And that can really help you build your confidence for like ways and things you can implement, strategies you can bring into the business you end up buying as well. So I teach people to take note of a lot of things that they're doing through the due diligence and how the businesses are growing, so they personally can build their confidence to ensure that they're competent to run the business, which is then, once they build that relationship with the seller, then that seller, that person is radiating their confidence, that it allows that seller to be confident in them. So it's more about teaching people how to do it themselves, like I said before, and be confident in it. Then they can become an attractive buyer enough so that the seller is happy to work with them. And they've also got not just me on their side, but the whole community backing them too. So it really helps.
Right. So the idea is by the time they are going to make the deal, they will already have quite a bit of experience in due diligence, and they would be sure that this is the deal they are doing, and they can project that confidence.
Yeah, I have some people that come through and they want to buy a business within the first 2 months of working with me, and you can tell that they're like, hey, I've checked all the boxes and I've got all the information. Can you just make sure it's a good business because I want to buy it? And I push back on them a little bit, and I ask them questions like, how do you feel? Like, do you think this would be a safe thing to do if you were going to invest in this business? Would you know how to handle this and this and that? And they're like, oh, wow, this actually may not be the business for me. So it's not, I'm not just trying to go push people into buying a business, right? Because I could, if they went and bought a business, cool, awesome. I could get a case study and that would make me look really good. But the thing that's bad about is that they may buy a business not right for them, and that's even more destructive to buy that business and for it to collapse and do bad than what it would be to not buy a business in the first place.
Yeah, you have to be ready. Like a lot of people, what I found, a lot of first-time buyers that come to us as well, they feel that this is like a real estate investment. You don't need to know a lot if you are buying a real estate. If you're buying a rental property, you just buy it and then you get someone to rent it out, or you rent it out yourself. Yeah. And you figure everything else after. But it's really not like that. It's a business. It's like buying an offline business rather than investing in real estate.
Yeah, that's right. So true.
And what are your thoughts about buying kind of as a group buy? Because you have this whole community now, so you might be able to go after bigger deals and have like 10 people or 20 people pull their money together. Have you tried that? Have you considered that?
Yeah, it's definitely something that's happening, going to be happening in the future. I have a lot of people reaching out to me with the people that aren't starting at that 20K to 30K or 50K range, people in the 6 to 7 figures that are like, hey, I want to buy a business and not run it. I'm in the process of building team to be able to do these group buys to ensure that those people in that market can get what they want as well. So yeah, it's definitely on the cards in the future. It's quite exciting. It's going to be fun, but I want to make sure I do it the right way and people get the value that they want out of it. I think the thing you can see is I don't just want to scrap it together and see how it goes. Yeah. Yeah,
you have to be ready. You have to know that you'll be able to manage it successfully. Yeah. Especially if you have 10 or 20 people, you have to have some decision-making process as well.
Yeah, so we definitely need, we're nutting out the team and the SOPs and the target property or the target sort of investments we'll be making. And yeah, it'll grow from there. I mean, the more this space becomes known to people, like, as you know, there's not many people that know what buying websites is. But as this space starts to grow, which it is, and I think you're seeing this happen as well, is that there's more outside money coming in from bigger real estate money or bigger stock market money or angel investors that are coming into this. And as you grow the same time as I grow, like we grow together, and so does the industry, and more money will come into it, that it's inevitable that these group deals and these funds and stuff are going to develop. But I feel the best way to go about it is to put one step in front of the other and do it the right way, rather than try and rush to the top and it all come crashing down, which is definitely not what I want.
Yeah, I think this is happening these days. There are many industry people who are starting funds, who are doing some group buys, and that's expanding. So last month I was speaking at a conference in LA. It was a conference for investors. So it's mostly people that are, investing in stocks, investing in real estate, and all kinds of different things. And we had quite a bit of interest, people coming up after and people asking questions. Like, this is really good. You can go and buy a business and get a 30% return versus like a 5 or 10% return.
Yeah, that's great. Good on you. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then they look at us and they say, wow, so you've had more than 100% annual return. We want to invest with you. Mm-hmm. And we've definitely seen a lot of people kind of getting interested in that asset class. And they understand the risks, but they also understand that it's maturing and becoming bigger and more serious. And I think
is that something you're going to do it? Yeah.
Yeah, we are doing it already. So we have one fund that we set up this year, and it already doubled in value in less than a year. And we just had, actually last month, we exited one of the businesses from that fund, and we've made more than a 3x return on that purchase. So it's been very successful.
Congrats, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that fund is closed, but we are in the process of setting up our second fund as well. So the first fund is a bit over $1 million in capital and assets now. And we are setting up the second one probably early next year. And I think that's definitely where we are going as well, and targeting more and bigger businesses to buy as we expand our deal flow. And I think that's going to be the general trend as well. I think if the industry grows, I expect that we'll see more of that happening. And even now we see a lot of that already, but also what we are seeing, what's new is, I think, the bigger funds, like the traditional big private equity firms or even VC funds are getting into this and getting interested in this industry. And they generally operate in much higher brackets, much higher ranges.
Yeah, like 20 to 30, 50 mil type things.
Yeah, like in tens of millions. But they started to get interested, and they're starting to look into this. And I think they in those higher ranges, there is going to be a lot more competition. And I expect what's going to happen is that the multiples will go up. Like the multiples for those higher ranges will go up, while the multiples for lower ranges might stay about the same, because they're already a bit high, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the more established businesses, you can see that they have less risk from outside forces, right? They're more diversified in different ways, and you've got so many levers you can pull and deploy different, funds into different areas. And I agree. Like, for me, I'm not going to get into something to the 20 to 30 mil range like straight away. I've already got a cap on what we're going to do for our first group buy / fund, and we've probably pretty much already got the funds there. We're not ready to deploy it yet, but I feel that those 20 to 30, 50, I think it's even 100 mil, that it's crazy the money that those will have a higher multiple. And I feel so they should, because the less risk, right? And then also the lower ones are in the 6-figure down to the 5-figure. Who knows what's going to happen with that? Because it's interesting that you and I are both seeing that those multiples are quite high now, right? I think Empire Flippers had a 52 or a 47 multiple on one of their sites they sold.
I think the average is around 30 or below 30.
Yeah.
Still, but that's mostly content size.
Yeah.
But yeah, it varies. I think actually one of the biggest opportunities right now, especially for first-time buyers, is coming from understanding those multiples, because a lot of the time what happens is if you see a website that's relatively new and like less than a year old and has some really high risks, it might be selling for a similar multiple, like a 30x months of revenue, compared to a website that's been around for literally a decade and is very stable, and very low risk. And that site might be selling for a little bit higher, but it wouldn't be a big difference. And honestly, I just find it crazy. Like that site that's a lot more stable, that should be like much, much higher price. And I think that really presents a big opportunity these days, that irregularity in the market.
Yeah, I agree with you. It should have a higher multiple, those bigger, more established businesses. I think what's affecting the smaller sites, the 50K type sites, is that the pool of people that can invest in those types of sites is so much bigger than the pool of people that have 20 to 100 mil. So the competition is a lot fiercer, which can then drive up the price or the multiple, which is why it's a seller's market in those spaces, in that area or that price bracket.
Yeah, another thing is, I think most of the buyers on the market are not yet well educated. So they look at numbers, they might not be able to see the difference between like a high risk deal and a low risk deal. Like they would understand the age and things like that, but they wouldn't be able to go and check the backlink profile of a content site most of the time. So that really presents an opportunity for buyers who are better versed in that.
Yeah. And that's a huge thing of why I started buying smaller sites, as did you. Yeah. And it's so important for us to understand that process and educate ourselves. Hence why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is most people don't know how to, like you said, like pull up a backlink profile. Like they probably don't even know what a backlink is, which is crazy to us. But yeah, it's scary for somebody that wants to buy a site and they don't even know what a good backlink or a bad backlink is, or white hat versus black hat type stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. And so how do you deal with operating those businesses? Do you teach people to operate them themselves, or would you sometimes help them find someone to help with that?
Yeah, so it depends on the business. I prefer people to learn how to operate the business themselves, so at least they can have some skills and then start hiring. I'm certainly happy to help them and do help them find VAs. Like sometimes there's people that want to buy sites that have VAs that may not come with the business, one or two. Then there's ways that we can purchase the site and hire a VA at the same time and have them go through the same training as the seller. But when they hire that VA, they want to ensure that VA has a foundational skill set in the tasks that they need to run as well. So it's really dependent on the business. Personally, I have different people helping with different parts of my business as well. So it's certainly something that I help people with, just through having to do it myself.
Yeah, I think being able to hire a VA and get some simple tasks done, that's just a really important skill that anyone should have if they run a business. What we found also is that often you kind of have a choice. You might either go with some external contractors and have some people help you with some things or advise on something, or just like go and do it yourself or hire some people to do it for you. So we've mostly been trying to hire people in-house to do like the important things, the SEO, the link building, the content, the strategy, all that. Because these are the things that I feel if you outsource them, like finding someone who can do simple things is easy, but finding really high-level SEO experts it's actually quite difficult. Like someone who's going to be able to go into the analysis, like on TD-IDF, and look at the backlinks and analyze your anchors and kind of all these kind of things. Like the higher level stuff is more difficult. And the consultants generally add a really, really high premium on their service. And
so they should, because they're good, right? Like that's the thing when people buy the smaller businesses in the, under the 50K range, it's like, you don't really have the funds to put into an SEO consultant that's going to, maybe charge you $2-3 a month just on consulting.
Absolutely. So it just doesn't make sense, and that's why it's I certainly prefer for buyers in that range to go and get those skills by themselves. Yeah. And these days you can find everything. You can read it online. You can kind of learn it on your own.
Yeah. I do have caution for people that do learn things online as well, is because I went and learnt a lot of my skills online, but it wasn't until I hired a mentor that things changed, whether that be yourself or somebody else. I feel that you can get stuck in a paralysis by analysis of all the content online, because there is so much, and it can send you off different directions that may not actually get you to the destination you want. So you can learn so much, like you can learn almost anything you need to know, but you got to be careful of learning some things that may not be serving you as well.
I think
that happened to me personally.
I think if you are learning, you have to make sure that you are constantly applying those things and also testing yourself, testing your assumptions, or having someone, of course, to advise, someone knowledgeable.
Yeah. That quote they say, I think it's to know and not do is to not know. So you can learn all the theory, but if you don't take it, put it into action, you don't really know it, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned travel. What's been your favorite destination? Do you travel often these days?
These days, not as often as I used to. I spent about 8 years traveling.
Wow.
So I've been to a fair few countries. The only continent I haven't been to is Antarctica. It is on a list. But I spent my time, like I lived in America, I lived in Canada, I lived in Egypt. I spent a bit of time in Japan. I think one of my favorite parts of the world is Central America, mainly because I love surfing. Yeah. I just came back.
I like to Panama, Costa Rica.
Yeah, I actually lived in Panama for 3 months, and I was a surf coach over there.
Where did you live?
I lived in a little place called Bocas del Toro.
Oh yeah.
It's on the East Coast, and it's a collection of islands. And I lived there for about 3 months, and I ended up running the surf school there. I was surfing 6 hours a day, and then I had my two little businesses running as well. It was good fun. But yeah, I think that side of the world's probably my favorite. What about you? You travel a lot as well, don't you?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually lived in Panama for a few months as well. I stayed in a place close to Boca. It's called Phuket. It's a small town.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like so quiet and nice, and just like nature. And I would go hiking every day and do some work. It was great. And I stayed in Panama City for a bit as well. Yeah. Yeah, I like that area. But I certainly need to work a bit more on my Spanish because it's like good enough to get around, but not enough to have an actual conversation.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm borderline can speak, but not on technical things at all. Just the most basic conversation. It'd be a boring conversation for us to have anyway.
Yeah, but now I'm mostly living in Chiang Mai in Thailand, and I don't speak any Thai. So I kind of get around with just English as well.
How long have you been there?
I've been here for like 2 or 3 years, but I've also been traveling. Now it's mostly just business travel, but it's used to be more like just exploring the world, travel. I've traveled a lot in Europe. I've also been to all the continents, I think, except Antarctica. It's not on my list currently.
I was going to say, if it was, we'd have to go together.
Yeah, I'd hope to visit it someday. But I don't know. It just feels like it's to put a V in a list. But I don't know how interesting it is, and it's probably quite cold.
Oh yeah, it's very, very cold. I do like photography, so I'd love to go and spend a bit of time doing photography there. It's not the cheapest place to go.
Yeah, it's a bit expensive. Yeah, I loved Europe. There are some really beautiful places in Europe. Have you been to Montenegro?
No, I haven't been to Montenegro. I actually just got back from Europe a week and a half ago. I was over there for a month in Italy and Germany, and I do want to go to Montenegro though. Heard it is nice. Some
magnificent views in the summer. It's amazing, and just for all the things like swimming and kayaking and paddleboarding, all the water-related activities. It's been great.
Awesome.
And what's your next destination? What's your next travel plan?
I did get an email this morning. I might go somewhere close to home. I can't say where because it's for a Bucks party. And this might get released early, so I don't want the groom to find out. And I actually don't have any big travel plans coming up into 2020, unless it's business related, interstate in Australia. So yeah, how about you?
Same, just probably some business conferences. I do want to go to India because I've been to India once, but just for a couple of days. So I'm curious to explore it a bit more. After you've traveled for a while, you find it's difficult to find that culture shock again.
Yeah.
Then you've kind of seen everything a little bit, and everything is just similar.
Yeah, I actually I lived in Egypt for 6 months in a little town called Dahab, and I was teaching. Became a dive master there, and then everybody was telling me you should go to India, and I thought, all right, cool. I've been in Egypt. It's undeveloped country. I've been here for quite a while. I'm prepared. And then I went to Nepal. I was like, I'm prepared to go to India. So I ended up catching the train down from Nepal to India to a place called Varanasi. And it was like the bus ran off without my bag. And then I had to end up the person ripped me off on the bus ticket as well. So I lost a fair bit of money. I nearly lost all my bags on this bus until I ran it down the road and jumped on. And then I got onto the train platform, and that was 6 hours late. And then I ended up catching the train. I met a Korean guy, and we both didn't know where to go in Varanasi. And so we were running around with our bags, and it was like a 20-hour transit, and it was just disgusting. And we were tired, frustrated, and hungry. And we were walking through the city of Varanasi with our bags, and somebody pushed me up against the wall, and I'm like, whoa. And then about 20 people ran past me. And then another big group of people ran past yelling this thing. It was like, nam naha nasettehe, nam na naset. And I think they were chanting something. And they had on a stretcher this woman that had just her body, and she had just died, and it just went past me in plain sight. I was just so shocked because I was just so tired, hungry, frustrated, and I just saw a dead person float right by my face.
Wow.
And that was a massive culture shock to me. And later on, I found out what happened is they were taking that body to the lake, the holy lake of in Varanasi, the Ganges. And they dip the body in the water, and then they bring it back out and they cremate the body. Wow. And they cremate the body on this fire that's been burning for about 2,000 years, so you can go and see it. And the next part of the culture shock is that in India, there's 7 different types of people that they're not allowed to cremate in that holy city. It's women that are pregnant, people that have been bitten by a cobra, I think some people with leprosy, and a couple of other ones. And since they can't cremate them on that fire, what happens is they really want to put them in the river, in the Ganges, right? So what they end up doing is they wrap the bodies up in this cloth with rocks and they sink the bodies. What's bad about that is the bodies have gas, and after a while the gas, it sort of comes out and the bodies blow up a little bit and then they float to the surface. So it's a massive culture shock, to say the least.
Yeah, that's quite a story. Yeah. That's why I like Thailand, because I feel it's a perfect mix of like having enough of that, enough development and culture, and still experiencing that different kind of culture and excitement. The other day I was in a taxi, and so I was going to the doctor, and I was the taxi, so I left the taxi, I came to the doctor, and then about 5 or 10 minutes later, I saw my taxi driver come after me, looking for me, and like waving a 1,000 baht note, which is like $30. And I was surprised. I was thinking, did I paid with the app? Like I was thinking, I know what I paid, so what's going on? And it turns out that I dropped the note, like I dropped the money. It just fell out of my pocket. Wow. And I had no idea, like I would have never noticed, but he realized that later, and he actually came back just to return it. And I was thinking, like, that's not going to happen in most places in the world. No. I don't know about India. I haven't been to India enough, but like that. That's
amazing. That's very generous, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money to them. Yeah.
And it's a pretty normal thing here. Like that's something that you would expect to happen always. So that's kind of why I like it here.
Yeah, it's a great place to live.
Yeah. All right. So on that note, let us wrap it up. And what would be your biggest tip to the first-time buyers, the people that are looking into this industry and thinking of buying some business? What would be the one piece of advice to give them?
The biggest tip would be to learn how to do due diligence and do it well. If you're wanting to buy a site and just due diligence, if you want to buy a site and grow it, then certainly learn some skills that you need in this space, right? Like in SEO, marketing, hiring VAs, like learn some of those trades or those skills, to ensure that you can have success in this field. That would be my biggest tip.
Right. So learn the skills.
Yeah.
And how can people contact you or find out more about you?
Sure. So just buyingonlinebusinesses.com. So buyingonlinebusinesses.com, and they can just find out all of my stuff, or they could type that into Google. And then on my social media, it's just my name, Jaryd Krause.
All right. Thank you, Jaryd. Pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks so much for having me. Always a pleasure. Thanks, Michael.
Domain Magnate is a leader in buying and selling online businesses with a proven track record of expertise gained from over 300 deals since 2004. To learn more about how we can help you acquire or exit a profitable online business today, head over to domainmagnate.com for more details.